Welcome Aries to your in-depth monthly forecast for October 2024 for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. Please do take advantage of your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data. If you order it now, you can get the rest of year 2024 free, plus your life roadmap report and 30% off. On the screen now, I'm showing the event chart right at the start of the month. We need to be mindful of the luminaries, but also your ruler Mars. Mars starts this month in the sign of Cancer, where it's going to be through to the 4th of November. But for you, the 4th house position for Mars can pose a little bit of a challenge, particularly through the full moon in your sign on the 17th. And the reason for that, Aries, is that you're very much an instinctive person. When you get that sense inside of you to take action and to thrust forwards, that's when you're at your absolute best. But having Mars in your 4th house is a very emotional sector, and it could see you deflected in some ways by the needs and the situation concerning where you live or the people immediately around you. But in terms of the moon, it is in a very practical area for you, and that has its strengths, but that faces off with Saturn at the start of this month, so you may need to prioritize, again, perhaps to do with the home and family, and there could be some old issues that are washing around that need to be digested and perhaps dealt with as well. But in terms of the Sun, it's a great start to the month. It's forging a very close alliance with Mercury, which actually peaked on the last day of September with the Cazimi. So as you go into this month, the theme to begin with is very much about relationships. But what about relationships? For some people are quite happily single. Other people may be in a relationship that means a lot to them, but maybe it's not running quite as sweetly as they would like. Other people may be fabulously happy, or other people's connections to others may be more meaningful around friendships, people that they have to work with and so on. So relationships has a different meaning for many of us. But the great thing about the solar eclipse, which is across the 2nd or 3rd, is that whatever you want from your life in terms of your connection to others over the next 6 months, you have a delicious opportunity to embrace this eclipse, because it's not going to be occurring again in Libra for some time. The key, however, is the lunar eclipse, which occurred across the 17th and 18th of September, is still creating the potential for some confusion or for some deeper issues to be just washing around, perhaps in a less than conscious way. So if there is some confusion around a relationship, Mercury being so close to the Sun at the start of this month is asking you to take a step back, to perhaps even talk to someone who may have an outside perspective on your situation, maybe even get some professional advice. And Mercury being aligned to the solar eclipse suggests that over the next half year you could encounter someone who actually can be a real asset to you, because they don't necessarily have the buy-in to your emotional situation, and therefore they can be that much more detached. So see that as a potential positive part of this month's start. But Venus, the planet of relating, is going to be connecting with Saturn through the first week. If you're someone who is very devoted and it's really going well, that particular aspect is a really great one to have. But equally, Venus in the 8th house can be very much to do with shared finance. And also, if you're an entrepreneurial person, the energy at the start of this month suggests trying to find collaborations. They don't have to be outright partnerships. It could be you could share an office with someone who has another small business. It could be that you could swap some skills in order to help your enterprise move forwards. It may be that you could become part of some kind of organisation where there's shared resources and encouragement. So that way of working forwards can definitely be an asset for you this month. But on the 9th, Jupiter, the planet of fortune, does go into its annual 4-month retrograde. When Jupiter goes retrograde, it's asking us to think more about the philosophical side of its energy rather than the luck side. And also because in Gemini, it's not its absolutely blindingly best location. It's just saying to you, because for you it's in your third house, which is quick communication. If there is knowledge that you need to gain, the third house, or there's knowledge you can share with others, the retrograde through to the early part of February next year can actually be a real asset, another asset to you, if you don't expect instant results. Because that's one of the problems with Jupiter, is the expectation. There are people who talk about Jupiter as being this amazing gift that we get once every 12 years in each part of the zodiac. And it can be, but we have to put the application and the perspiration in order to get the rewards. But I will say to you that at the heart of this month, on the 14th, there could be a meeting that you have or a conversation, despite Jupiter's retrograde, which could prove outright lucky. So do stay mindful of that. I do feel, however, from the 12th through to the 17th, there could be some unexpected expenses that come up for you, or perhaps that more impulsive part of your nature will get the upper hand. If you see something that proves to be somewhat irresistible, it may be that you'll just need to have it. But you could also find around any kind of diet plan that your resistance can be low as well. But on the 12th, Pluto ends its retrograde. Now, Pluto went into retrograde in May, and it's going to return back into the sign of Aquarius on the 19th of November, which for you is about friendship, your long-term plan, your direction of travel, but also your higher values. If your professional situation is uncertain at the current time, even more reason to try to build those collaborative links. Even if you're not necessarily getting a gig with someone that you're talking to, it may be that in time they will tell someone else about what you have to offer. But if you do feel that your professional or worldly interactions are a bit fluid, it's understandable if you did feel a little bit worried. But that opposition between Venus and Uranus at the heart of this month is also telling you to stay open-minded about resources. And sometimes opportunities can happen, particularly with Uranus, very, very rapidly. And we have to almost be ready to seize them. If you're not, it could something could develop, and then before you've really responded, it could be gone. So whether it's in a romantic context, a business or a financial one, expect something electric to happen at the heart of this month. But because the Sun forges an exact trine with Jupiter on the 14th, that could turn out to be a key date. But just before then, on the 13th, Mercury returns to Scorpio. But it does clash with Pluto, just as it does. Despite the conversations you may be having in the early part of this month, sometimes in life people want something in order to give something, so there is some leverage. Unfortunately, that's one of life's realities. So there may be an opportunity financially or professionally that you're offered, but it may not be exactly what you want. If things at any or in any strand of your life feel somewhat frustrating, the full moon in your sign on the 17th is likely to bring that energy to the surface, because Mars, your ruler, is going to be in a T-square with the full moon. So the position of the moon in your sign, the sun's in Libra, and T-squaring them is Mars. So Mars in Cancer is in its full. As I mentioned before, it can be emotional, can be a bit reactive, and if you don't feel heard, and that's perhaps possible on this full moon, if you don't feel respected, it could even be the kids, if they're not really taking enough note of what you're saying or pitching in on the domestic sphere. That's the type of stuff that could see you be much more likely to ignite with frustration because of Mars forging the square with the full moon in your sign. Now on the 17th too, however, Venus does move into Sagittarius. If you are someone who enjoys travel, or you enjoys different interests, or you have connections with people overseas, or you're someone who's interested in philosophy, or you want to join in with some evening classes to expand your knowledge in some ways, Venus moving into this area is delicious. If you've yet to book that vacation, a great time to do it. But on the 22nd, the Sun joins up with Mercury in Scorpio, but also clashes with Pluto. So if you do have a role where you feel that you're locked in some ways, perhaps because of the finance, but it's not really the type of role that you would really like, all that can create a huge amount of frustration before the end of this month. So particularly if you feel that someone's not being very honest. So a lack of honesty in any kind of relationship could be quite triggering for you towards the end of this month, whether it's with someone at home, emotionally, in your family, or professionally. And the tension that can build up towards the end of October could be absolutely palpable. But I rest my case on that solar eclipse. It's about application and perspiration, particularly as the Sun links with Jupiter at the heart of this month. So if you do feel that you're up against it towards the end of this month, try to keep the lines of communication open, whether it's in romance, whether it's with family members, professionally, friendships. If you're not really feeling heard, the potential for you to boil over with frustration is enormous. So always staying mindful of why someone's responding in the way they are, perhaps of their particular circumstances. Doesn't mean to say you shouldn't be cross, angry or annoyed, but if you can just factor in why someone is responding like they are, that can actually bring a much greater sense of perspective. And that's really what that solar eclipse is offering you at the start of this month through the next 6 months. So despite it being quite a challenging and aggravating Aries full moon at the heart of this month, try to go back to the energy of that solar eclipse to guide you, because it can bring opportunities to build new alliances, improve the ones you've got, but you will have to marshal some short-term frustration this month. Have a great month, Aries. All the best and goodbye. And do please check out that year 2025 personal horoscope forecast offer. You'll get the rest of this year free, but also 30% off with your life roadmap report, all based totally on your unique birth data, and great value too. Please see the link below for more.